Hi, everyone. Oh my goodness. I believe I definitely had on a cape today. And I had on a cape, and I got some of you sending me messages going, hold on a second. How is it that you plan on getting Real Talk done this evening whilst I am actually connected with family time and soaking up some sun time? But you know what? When we have an appointment and we have a commitment, what do? We show up. So I want to thank you who are joining and those of you who will join a little bit later. Welcome to Real Talk. I do have a guest who is in studio, and I have her in studio waiting because this is a story that all of us need to definitely hear. I really want someone to tell me if they are seeing everything live and direct. I'm not seeing the comments right now. Oh, yep, I believe I've activated myself very well. And we definitely want you to tell everybody else that Real Talk is happening. Superwoman Cape on with God as our guide literally skated in here a while ago in an effort to catch us this evening. So we're celebrating July. Hey there. Thank you so much, my faithful ones. Are you hearing as well as you normally do? I'd like to think so. We're celebrating the entire month of July. I can confirm with you that next Saturday, because of the month long anniversary for Real Talk, next week is when I'll be hosting and I have done the arrangements to host Leading Queens to Greatness. So that is going to be a complimentary session that everybody's going to have to sign up for. The link will be posted in my bio. And it's really important that everyone gets a chance. And you can spread the word on that as well. So I also would want to say at any time now, I'm about to bring our incredible warrior of a woman, Christine, to center stage. And before I actually bring her up, I want you to understand how God tends to work, and He always does in a mysterious way, right? So, Christine is an incredibly beautiful soul. You will get to meet her yourself, but she has faith and fortitude like no other. And she's young, dynamic, an amazing mom. But cancer has knocked at her doorstep. And this woman, every day, even with the resurgence of the doctor's account, she still rises with the spirit to fight and to win. And I thought in the period of this time where we have come together in true sisterhood, which is what Real Talk for me is all about, that we need to come together and really come alongside Christine and hear her story, but also hear how best we can support her on her journey. So I trust we had a little bit of technical difficulties before, and I am trusting that she is all sorted out for that. It's not too late for you to tell somebody that we are on, we are live, we are direct. Yes, Real Talk is happening. For those of you who are joining via Facebook, thank you so much for joining. For those of you who are joining by YouTube, glad you are here. Let's make this interactive. We're not just going to hear Christine's story, but we are also going to learn from her. We're going to get some tips and guidance from her. And most importantly, we're going to support her. So without any further ado, please allow Christine to feel welcome on stage. Come on. We've prayed this up. This is an act of obedience for inviting her on, and her responsiveness was literally instantaneous. Here she is.
Hi. Hello,
So,
everyone. Auntie Marsha, thank you.
Oh, it's our pleasure to have you on, Christine. And as I always do, I definitely like to read just a little bit about who we're talking to and why we're talking to you. And before I brought you up on stage, I made it very clear that in my eyes and through my heart, I really believe that God has made you the warrior that you are, that you have been
Indeed.
able to fight the good fight of faith. You have taken your diagnosis of cancer before. I've heard you stand up and give your testimony, but to hear that it would want to raise its head again and you are still standing, believing. So I want all of my prayers on here to pray that we get good connection. We want to make sure the sound is good because I'm hearing some feedback. I'd love Cheryl Dion Yvonne to tell me if you're hearing feedback when I speak or when Christine speaks. Um, but we're hoping that this is transmitting very clearly because we need to hear from you, Christine. So we're asking God's hands to be all over this for us to have good connectivity, good sound, giving you the courage that you always have. And
Amen.
so I'm hoping that I'll get their response to hear how the sound is. Ooh, I'm hearing feedback. Welcome. Listen, I've got some full. I'm hearing that there's a little feedback, and I am so not
Awesome.
sure exactly what to do. I'm hearing it as well. I really want us to have good connection. Thank you so much for joining.
I wonder
Oh,
if
you
it's
know,
from, could it be from my device?
I believe perhaps it is. Would you happen to have earphones? I'm not sure if that might help. I don't know. I'm just thinking aloud. Okay, they're saying there is feedback.
Um, no, unless I use un, unless I use instead of my laptop. That's the only way I can probably try to see if the feedback will stop.
Will be less. Yeah, a bit of feedback
The
on.
only,
Cheryl, you're saying it's on Christine's end, yeah? I'm hearing it. So I am hoping it's still able to hear.
all
Okay.
right.
All right. So
Let me see if I switch over to my,
hold on. You ready for me to switch? You're trying another device? All right, everybody, promise to stay. Don't leave. We definitely want to hear what Christine has to say. And I'm actually going to read her bio in the meantime. So you have an idea of who we're going to be hearing from. And so Christine says, and I'm reading it from her listing, I'm Christine Soutar, and I was diagnosed with breast cancer, HER2 positive. I don't even know if I'm saying it right. In 2018, when I was 7 months pregnant. According to doctors, it was caught at an early stage. And after undergoing chemotherapy and a round of radiation, we found out that it had metastasized to my spine and then to my lungs. I was further placed on more treatments, but nothing seemed to be working. I'm now seeking funding to do another biopsy and to undergo treatment overseas. She has two adorable sons who I actually know personally, a 9-year-old and a 2-year-old. And when I tell you they're sweet as sugar, that keeps her spirits up daily and keeps her going even when she is exhausted. Even though I have been battling this silently, I've exhausted all of my resources. She's been laid off during COVID. This has obviously put a financial strain on her. I still have hope to see my boys grow up, and I have no doubt that I can beat this. I have hope in providing encouragement to others that are battling this horrible disease. Doctors are baffled that I'm still walking and carrying out my daily activities. So before it does any more damage, we've got to help her in this fight. But when I tell you that I don't think I've heard Christine complain in the time that I have known her and her journey. Let's see if this actually goes through now. We are sisters who encourage one another. 1, 2, 3, prayers up. Let's test this out. All right. Trying
Sounds
again.
better?
Oh, Crystal.
Awesome.
Awesome. What do we say? We say it's better the second time around. Yay, this is fantastic. Christine, thank you so much for joining. So I actually read your bio and, read just the excerpts of your journey, right? And I want to thank you for having the courage to come on, relax yourself, because this is a conversation with me and the rest of this amazing community. That truly, I got messages of folks who thought I was not even having real talk, and it was a very close call. And so if you see any grains of sand on my face, really, it was a very, very close call to make it. But this is too important, right? And I really want you to know you have full liberty to share in the spirit of this. I mean, God has clearly preserved you for such a time as this. We're talking about from 2018. That was when you had your diagnosis. Walk us through, how did you even find out? I mean,
Right.
7 months pregnant on top of it.
Yep. So first of all, thanks for everybody. I can't see the comments, but I know Auntie
Okay.
Marsha will. Yeah. So as the excerpt said, I was 7 months pregnant when I found out with my second son. And this wasn't going to the doctor finding out that there was something. It was just me laying in my son's room and just happened to just run my hand over my breast. And I'm like, what's this? You know? I kind of knocked it off and say, I'm pregnant. It's probably milk ducts. But then in the back of my head, I'm saying this never happened in my first pregnancy. But no pregnancy is the same. No two pregnancies the same, right? So immediately, the first person I called was the warrior, which is my mom. And I was back and forth whether or not I should tell her. And she said to me, oh, no, it's probably not nothing, it's God know we don't want to think what it is. So nobody was calling the name or anything like that. So then eventually I said, I'm usually a procrastinator and I don't, would just wait a while to see if it would disappear. But then I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I went to the doctor the following week. And when I went to the doctor the following week, she said, oh, she's going to call in another doctor to come and, so we did the ultrasound, and I'm hoping that after we did the ultrasound, then it would be like, oh no, it's not nothing. When we did the ultrasound, they said, oh, they're going to recommend that I do a biopsy. I mean, oh, Lord Jesus, really. But I still push through. Remember, I have a baby carrying along the way, and I'm determined that I'm going to carry my child along the way.
Right.
When worse came to worse, they said, oh, it is what it is. And when we did the biopsy, so I said, all right, guess what? My surgeon actually wanted to do surgery at the time I was pregnant. I said, I'm not going to do surgery while I'm pregnant. I mean, he's told me he's done it already. I wasn't comfortable with doing it. I said, no, I'm not comfortable with doing it. It was during that time my husband and I decided, all right, Christine, we're going to send you, we're going to go overseas, because at this point, my routine, I'm home most of the time with the boys. Or with my son at the time, which is Caden. So my routine would have to be the same. I would have to wake up, bring him to school, So my family came and said, all right, no, during this time, we want you to relax. So just chill. My mother said, she'll keep Caden for me while I go overseas and do what I have to do. So I said, okay, fine. While I was there, I was like, I said, my first priority is just have this child. That's all I want to do is just have the child. Even when I was there and I said, no, I'm going to come back home. They said, no, they kept me and said they're actually going to induce labor earlier because they were afraid that I was going to put the child in shock or have, complications at birth. So I said, okay, fine. We did that. And he came, even though, no, you have to come, out. Bye. So even though, sorry, a whole host of people is here. So even though I was going through all of that, I said, I'm still going to have him. We're going to push through this. And everybody said, okay, fine. We did what we had to do. Came through. I said, while we were there, they kept saying to me, oh, they want to do a double mastectomy. I was like, a double mastectomy? Why are we doing a double mastectomy? But at that time, I was so caught up in this thing that I wasn't even processing what doctors were saying. We'd had to do a first round of chemo, then do the surgery, and then do chemo again. At that point, my family said, come back home because it's best to be around family to do all of this. So I said, all right, I'm going to come back home. As soon as I came back home, the week after, we went into surgery. I didn't even have time to think. Well, I think I had time to think about it. I had a whole of 4 months to think about it, which I didn't give it much thought. I just knew it was going to be done regardless. So while doing all of that, I thought what was going to happen was we do surgery and it's done because the doctor said to me, it was just in the breast duct. It didn't go anywhere. Only to find out that when I was referred to the oncologist, he said to me, oh, there were no lymph nodes removed. So we're going to have to do chemo as if it went to the lymph nodes. So I said, but the surgeon said that everything was okay with the lymph node. That's why he didn't remove it. He said, you can't tell that everything is okay with the lymph nodes. It's something that is microscopic. So I said, okay. I took it like a champ and I said, all right, do whatever. At this point, I wasn't asking questions. It's whatever the doctor said. I just went with the flow. If you say that is what I'm supposed to do, that's what I'm going to do. So we did that. I did 8 rounds of chemo. I did 8 rounds of chemo in 2019. And
this is after you've had the baby.
This is after. So I had Cairo in November 2018, and I did surgery January 2019. Wow. And then I started chemo April or May of 2019, did 8 rounds of that. Every CT scan at that point showed everything was, the cells were reacting, everything was okay. And I wasn't out of the ball, but I was, it was responding. Between I think it was August and September, between September 2019 and December 2019, because I started radiation December 2019. I don't know what happened. I did the CT scan. However, because I did the CT scan privately, I held on to those results. So I wasn't thinking that I had to go back to the hospital to put to give them the results, because I was waiting to see the radiotherapist to give him the results. So, and my other appointment with the radiotherapist wasn't until March of 2020. When I went to him in March of 2020, the only thing he said to me, he hit my back when he opened it. And I think he looked at the scan and then he came to me. He tested my back. He's like, you feeling any pain in your back? Mind you, 2019 of December was when I switched jobs and I know I was standing a lot. So I started to feel pain in my lower back. But I was just, saying, oh, because I had to wear heels and I had to look pretty and stand, I just blamed it on the heels. He said, are you feeling any pain in your back? I said, no, not now when you're hitting it, but I used to feel pain and it's not as hard. It wasn't as rough as he made it sound. Plus, I'm a bit tolerant to pain. I can stand pain a little bit more than the norm. So I said, no, I'm not feeling any pain. It's fine. He said to me, you sure? I said, yes, doc, I'm sure. And then he said, we have to do a bone scan. I'm like, why are we doing a bone scan? He needs to check to see there's a tumor in my lower spine. He needs to check to see if it's cancerous. No, Auntie Marsha, I'm there by myself. right? Nobody's there. So I can't drop because nobody's not there to hold me up. So at this point, I take a whole deep breath. The only thing I could do was excuse myself out of the office and call my husband and start ball because I didn't know what else to do.
Absolutely.
Anyways, I said, okay, so what are we gonna do? I said, all right. At this point, I said no. And when I called to find out how much a bone scan was, it was 2,300 US just to do a bone scan. Only place to do it was in Kingston. I said, Lord Jesus. Then I went back. I had to visit my oncologist. I went back to my oncologist, I think it was a week after, and I showed him the CT scan. The only thing he said to me was, Christine, we're going to put you back on chemo. I said, I'm confused. I was told that I need to do a bone scan. I don't need to do a bone scan. He says, no, it metastasized to your spine. So I said, oh, so it is cancerous. He says, yes, it metastasized. So I said, okay, well, that saved me 2,000. I was saying, okay, that saved me 2,300 US. Fine, if you have to do it, let's just do it. Went back. So I said, Doc, am I going to lose my hair again? It just start grow back. He said, yeah, it's going to happen. I said, all right, fine. I went, and before I lose my hair, I shaved it off. I think Caden came in, my son came in, started see me shaving my hair, and he's like, whoa. And he backed up. That was one of the most memorable moments. He backed up, said, Mommy, I'm not even going to bother to say anything. And he backed up and went back to his room. Holding back tears, I said, all right, I'm going to have to do this again. Second round, let's do this. I'm going to go back and I'm going to fight this. We went back, and a matter of fact, I didn't do it at the same time. I was crying. I told everybody what happened. And I said, no, there has to be a miracle because I don't want to go back through this. I think before I decided that I was going to do that, I said, I don't want to do it. They ordered me to do another CT scan because remember, I did my CT scan in December. So they did another CT scan. When it came back, it was in my lungs at this point now.
Come on, Christine.
So I said, all right, I'm not going to delay this. And it was at that point where my family had wanted to start the GoFundMe. And I said, no, let me do the treatment for now. My insurance is paying for it. And then I can manage to help off where the insurance, didn't cover. So I said, no, let me just go ahead and do what I have to do. And they said, you sure? I said, yeah, I'm sure. They're like, Christine, cut the ego. Is this putting a strain on me? I said, no, let me just do what I have to do. Prayers up. And I know my support system was still strong at the point. But you know what happened, Auntie Marsha? Because I've put on such a strong exterior.
Yes.
It's like, I forced myself not to break, you know what I mean? Because I had to be the strength for my mother as well. Because God knows, if she see me in pain, she's just going to lose it. So even if I'm in pain, I had to hold on to a lot of the pain that I was going through. So I said, no, I'm going to go through it. Went through it, lost the hair, shaved the head. And it was in that year that I decided that I wasn't going to wear any more wigs. I was going to face it, with the bald head. You see me at church with the bald head and I rocked it.
Bald head.
And it was at this point that I didn't care who was looking at me, who wanted to ask questions, feel free. I made sure I prayed to God about it. And I said, I have to own this because obviously whatever it is, it wants me to own it. So let me own it and own it very well. Couple months later, when we did another CT scan, it wasn't reacting. Nothing. The cells weren't reacting. However, it was just stable. Nothing was moving. So it wasn't it wasn't shrinking and it wasn't growing. It was just there.
Right.
So they said, all right, they're going to put me on oral medications. 70 pills were $362,000. That lasted for a month. 70 pills only lasted for a month. I had to do this 8 cycles. So that's 8 months?
Yes.
Right. I said, okay, for the first 4 months, because they do it they do the cycles like every 3 months or every 4 months. Then they do a scan to see if the medication is working. After I did the first set of oral medications, I had positive, at this point, my mind was just positive about everything. I was just taking everything. I mean, I was sick. I think I was horribly sick at that point. I mean, diarrhea, vomiting, throwing up. I had back pain. I have everything that I was weak. At one point, I looked in the mirror and I didn't recognize myself because I was so thin. I was like,
And
no.
that was your body's response to the chemo?
To the chemo, to the oral medication. And on top of that, I had changed my diet as well. So I came off of meat and I was just eating more fruits and vegetable. And of course, it causes you to lose your masses. So when I went back and did the CT scan, it showed that every cell was reacting, everything. The only thing I saw when I started, the first time that I looked at the paper at the hospital and smiled, laughed, and was in a good mood because I said, today I'm not going home crying. I'm not going home crying today. Everything started to shrink. You see shrinking. And I was just like, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. And I think that was when I did my testimony at church. Then they said, okay, what they had to do, they had to cut the dose because I was losing so much weight. So they had to dosage from 100% to 75% with the chemo tablets. When they put me on the 75%, because even then, when I was sick and can't move and they wanted to cut the dosage, I said, Doc, don't cut it, because this is the only thing that seems to be working without my hair falling off. Yes, I can manage the diarrhea, I can manage the vomiting, I can manage it, just don't cut it. They said, no, based on the amount of fluid that I'm losing, they have to cut the dosage. They cut the dosage and I felt a little better. When I went back, I said, put it back to 100, because whatever it is, it have to go immediately. They were looking at me as if I was crazy. Like, who said they want to be in pain? Who said they want to go through all this drama?
But that was your will to fight, right?
Right, exactly. So I went through all of that. When we started the next set, another 4 months, stopped working. Nothing. I was like, okay, like seriously, what's happening? Before I started the chemo, I decided to do a referral to another doctor. I went to Kingston and I saw another doctor. She had actually wanted to do a bone biopsy because, of course, they would have exhausted all of the medications that are supposed to work with the gene that I was diagnosed with, which is HER2 positive. So after all of that, when I told my doctor in Montego Bay that this is what I was told, and she told him, yes, she has to do a bone biopsy. The doctors here, the radiologists and the neurosurgeons here were a bit hesitant because they would have to go in on my spine. So they didn't want to go in on my spine. So because of that, I was like, well, I'm not comfortable with that either. If they're not comfortable, I'm not comfortable. So I delayed the process because I'm like, okay, the pills are working. So let's just continue with the pills and we don't have to do no bone biopsy, because of course it would have been, the surgery, it would have been an open surgery going on your spine, and there's a whole lot of nerves there. So I was like, if they're not comfortable, I'm not comfortable. And she said that they might not want to do it. If they don't, then there's somebody in Kingston that can do it. I didn't follow up that because, as I said, the pills were working at the time. When the pills stopped working and they found I still wasn't up, in the back of my head, I'm like, all right, I might have to do another biopsy. And the reason for the biopsy is that they want to find out what the subtype is. I didn't know that your genes can actually change from what it was originally diagnosed with. And a perfect way the radiologist explained it to me was like, if you have 2 children, you gave birth to 2 children, but the 2 children aren't the same. So it's just like the cancer metastasized to another part of the body. It doesn't mean it's the same gene. So whatever targeted treatment they're doing, it might not work because it's not the same gene that targeted treatment is for. Wow. If you understand what I mean.
I'm learning from you, and I know there are folks that are on here that I know have had their personal connection with their very, very close ones, their loved ones, and the battle with cancer, some of which, they would have a lot more knowledge. So when you're speaking, you're actually enlightening us and creating awareness for us, because that part I never knew before. So I want you to say that again. So technically, when we hear the term cancer and we hear about this horrid disease, cancer, you can have a different gene type that has impacted another area
Of your body. Right.
of your body. So what happened to you with your breast is not necessarily the same gene that would.
Gene be in the lung and be in the spine. So that is why they have to do, or that is why they have to do another biopsy, because I'm HER2 positive. They're giving me all the medication for HER2 positive, but it's not reacting. At this point, the gene might have changed, right? As I said, back to the story, they were hesitant to do the bone biopsy. So was I. I said, let's continue with the treatment. They continue with the treatment. Now, since this year, they gave me another treatment. And while on the treatment, the one in my lung grew bigger. It didn't grow in number, but it grew bigger in size. When I went back to the doctor, and this is where I had to be very, very, I had to be straight out with him, because he's a man of very few words. He doesn't speak much. And if you have questions, make sure you write it down and go to him, I said, all right. I went to brave up and just go in and speak to him. I went in and I spoke to him. I said, Doc, because he said to me, Christine, he doesn't call me by name. He's like, you're not feeling any pain? I said, no. And at this point, I started to touch myself, because I'm wondering, am I normalizing the pain? He keeps asking me the same question over and over. He says, you don't have shorter breath? Are you having any? I said, no, I'm not. And at this point, in the back of my head, I say, you know what? Based on how he's asking the question, it must God, because it must God. This can't be nothing else but God. I said to him, am I supposed to be feeling all of these symptoms that you're asking? He said, well, based on what is going on in your body, yes. I said, well, no, I'm not feeling none of these things. At this point, I started to wonder, all right, why my body so difficult? No, that's what I'm saying to myself,
Right,
because
right.
doctors are baffled at what is going on. So I said, all right. I said, Doc, here what I went to do. I went to brave up. We're going to do this bone biopsy. And one of the reasons why I decided to do it was because I also met another patient, another lady that had the same HER2 positive, and her gene changed. She did rounds and rounds and rounds of chemo. She started to lose her muscle mass. And that's when she said, she spoke out to the doctor and said, listen, she was in the army. And she said, I'm a bodybuilder. I'm losing way too much muscle mass. So let's do something. And she said it was at that point when they realized that the gene, the subtype, that's what they call it, the subtype changed. So they had to change her medication. So I said, okay, so it is possible then. This isn't, it's not weird that that one doctor said this and no other doctor said it is possible. I said, okay, Doc, I'm going to go ahead. We're going to do, we're going to do the bone biopsy. I went to the neurosurgeon and I sat down in the neurosurgeon's office. And he was the only one who took up the CD, because we get a CD after every CT scan. And he showed me. This is where I went haywire. He said, oh, based on what he's seeing, he doesn't want to go through the spine because that is evasive. That's going to be evasive. But he can get it from the pelvis. I said, the pelvis? I said, what you mean? He said, yeah, it's in the pelvis, the left, the right, and it's in your femur.
Oh my goodness, Christine.
I said, so at this point, I remember clearly, I backed up from his desk and I just sat down in the chair and I just looked at him, and just tears just started to run from my eyes at this point. And I said, Doc, explain to me all of this all over again, because it says it's stable. The bone metastasis is stable. So what does stable mean? He says stable meaning that it's contained just in the bone. So I say, it can be, it's all over my bone. And then it was at this point that I got so upset, because I said, they've always been doing CT scans, and it's never been a full body CT scan. It's just been a CT scan of your pelvis, your abdomen, and your
Right.
chest. Hence
Right.
why we wouldn't know where else it is, because those are just the
Right.
areas it was focused on. I said, all right, just put it in layman terms, because I'm gonna have to go home and explain all of this to my family. And
Family.
he put it in. He said, all right, I'm going to work with you. We're going to get a radiologist in Kingston. We might have to do a CT guided biopsy. That's what he said. I said, you put a camera so they know exactly where to get the tissue from for testing. So I said, okay, fine. He'll get back to me. He called me every day to say, okay, this is what is happening. The reason why it's taking so long is because we decided that because I gave them, because of course, if I cannot pay for it or pay a little for it, that would help, right? He said, all
Yes.
right, so they're trying to put everything together, just waiting on the information from the insurance company, and I got impatient at one point, and I remember calling my sister-in-law in England, and I said to her, I don't know what is happening. Like at this point, I was in tears. I was like, I don't know what is happening. I'm waiting, and I don't know what is happening. And at this point, they're referring me to Tony Twaits to do this, and she said, all right, we're not waiting anymore. We're going to do a GoFundMe, whatever it is, because obviously if they're waiting on insurance, if the insurance don't cover it, what that means, you're not going to get to do it. So she said, all right, we're going to go do a GoFundMe. And that's when everything came into play. When I went back to the hospital to inform the oncologist of what the neurosurgeon said. Of course, they would have spoken, but just for me to tell him exactly what is happening. He said to me, I said to him, oh, the radiologist called me and said, oh, they don't want to go in through the bone because the ones in the bone are thoracic. They won't get a proper reading from the ones in the bone. So they're going to do a lung biopsy. And I said, lung? You mean push a needle through my lungs at this point? I said, that's normal. People do that. So anyways, I said, okay, fine. I took it for what it is. I said, that's fine. Just let me know. And that's when they were doing everything to see how much it would cost and the whole 9 yards, if the insurance would cover it and all these things. When they finally, at this point, I spoke to my sister, which is who I'm with now in the States. I said to her, I don't know what's happening. They sent me a message after a while when I called them back and I said, listen, if you're waiting on the insurance and it's not coming through, I'll pay out of pocket. Auntie Marsha, I don't know where the money coming from, but I need it
That's
to.
all right. Yeah, this is where faith has to be activated.
I said, I'll pay out a pocket. I'll pay out a pocket. Just send me the information. And he said, okay, fine. And the next day I got the information of how much it would cost. It was $232,000 to do whatever I would have to do. A COVID test. I would have to do blood works and everything. I told my sister. She said to me, no, don't do it there. Get your medical reports and come to me. And I said, okay, fine. When I went to the hospital and I told them that, a matter of fact, the neurosurgeon and the radiologist, they were very good. They went through details with me of the whole thing, I would have to be admitted and the whole 9 yards. And I found that to be I remember at one point the radiologist said to me, you look like you're the type of person that you just want them to tell you straight out what's happening. I say, yeah, yes. I want you to tell me exactly what's happening. If you say I'm going to die, just tell me. Don't beat around the bush, because at the end of the day, you're just saying it. You know what I mean? You're not God. So whatever it is that you feel, that's your opinion, just let me know. And that is from a medical standpoint. And I totally respect whatever it is that you're going to say, but just let me know. Just lay it on the table and let me know. I have a better understanding. I just want to be able to explain things at the end of the day. It must make sense what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. He said, whatever. Anyways, I said to him when he finally called me, it was the Wednesday that I got a call from the radiologist, from the neurosurgeon. They said, oh, we are putting everything together for you to do the biopsy on Friday. I said, today's Wednesday. I have to go to work. I have a COVID test to do. So I said, you know what? it's too much of a short notice. I've been waiting. I said no. And he's like, you could hear the pause in his voice. He's like, you're not going to do it? I said, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to go overseas. He said, okay, all right. He's going to call whoever. And then a couple minutes later, the radiologist called me and he said, Christine, you're not going to do the biopsy? I said, no, I'm not going to do it. And then, you know, he said, well, hope everything works out well or whatever. I didn't bother to explain the whole thing to him. And, you know, and that's where I've been since then. So,
my goodness. Christine, I feel like I've been on the comments. I'll have to share a lot of them with you. But for those who have joined late, in summary, first and foremost, God bless you for having the faith that you do, and the family and the extended support system, because I would never, nobody who knows you would kind of know the fight that you have had. And in all of this, you are not even sharing that you're still the mom to two highly active boys, and that you have still, I've seen you do deliveries and food prep, and just unbelievable.
but you know what, Auntie Marsha, I had to do all of that. And I think when I sent out the GoFundMe was where I was overwhelmed with calls, with text messages, with emails, because a lot of persons thought I was in remission. I was never in remission. I still had to go out. Never in remission. Never. I've been doing treatment since 2019 till today, till last week. I was never in remission. At no point was I in remission. At no point. I had to.
This time that we're seeing you fight this fight, you had your warrior shield on.
I was going. I drove myself to the hospital, drove myself back home, then went home and went into mommy mode. The next day I woke up. I said, all right, I feel okay. I don't have to call out from work today. I'm going into work. And if I got a call to do a makeup or to do a bridal party, that was the most exciting thing. I just wanted to get calls to do a bridal party. And if it's Kingston, I have to drive into Kingston. If it's Negril, I drive into Negril, because it took my mind away from everything that was happening. It made me feel that you can still live during your process. You know what I mean? When I was first diagnosed, I thought everything would stop. I thought I can't do nothing. I thought I couldn't go anywhere or do anything. And then it was one day when I looked at myself in the mirror and I'm like, no, baby girl, you're going to go out and you're going to wear this crown like you've never worn it before. You understand? And I was skeptical about who I told, because some people just couldn't handle the story, and I didn't want anybody crying. I didn't want anybody, feeling sorry for me and pitying me and all of that. So I went out strong. So when I placed that out there, a lot of people didn't know. A lot of people weren't on. And I said, no, I wasn't in remission. I was still working. I was still doing what I had to do. I still had to be a mom, because I didn't actually tell Caden. I told him, but because he still sees me going like everybody else, I still play with him. I still had to do what I had to do unless I felt sick. And then the only time I felt sick was when I was on treatment. That's the only time I felt sick. So I'm still grateful that I can still live during this. My life didn't stop. It was like a part of me felt like I had to wait until I heard that I was cancer free to live. Right. And I'm like, no, each day, I tell you, every day I wake up, I touch myself. I'm like, okay, I'm still alive. I woke up and I'm thankful, because you just never know. People have said, I've heard one of the most silliest comments, and it was somebody who said, they have to they're so close. They live so close to me. They have to be closer because they don't want to scatter roses when I'm gone. And that I know the person didn't mean bad by it, by what she said, but when she said that, I realized that I had to protect my energy. I had to protect persons because people don't really know what to say sometimes. So I have to be very careful about who I communicate with and who I'm around and the energy that those persons will give back to me, because I think they feel that once you have, and I'm here to tell people that even though you have been diagnosed with cancer, still live, still go out and do whatever you want to do, still be you. This is a time where you be more than who you were called to be, because you have a purpose. I don't think we're here just to live and die. And no, there's a mark that has to be said, even if it's one person, even if it's just one person that I ever speak to, and they're ever, I can actually give them some form of motivation. That one person, I'm grateful enough for that one person. The last visit I had at the hospital, there's a doctor that I'm always afraid to go to. He said to me, "I saw your story." I said, "Oh, really?" He said, "Yes." He said, "I didn't even know you had 2 boys." He said, "Christine, I want to let you know that you've been the rock for a lot of these ladies here in the hospital." And when he said that, I said, okay, I have to reach more people, because the thing is, you never know which sickness you're going to get. I've always told people, you're either going to come through a storm, go through a storm, or you're in a storm. But we still have to live. We all have a purpose here, and we have to ensure that our purpose is fulfilled. I don't really know what my purpose is yet, but God is working on me, and He's not ready for me yet. I've learned to activate positivity, to say, you know what, I'm already healed, despite what the papers say, despite what the doctors say. I'm already healed, because there's a spiritual realm that I know I'm already healed there. I'm just praying and asking God to activate it in the flesh. No.
Man, what a strong, mighty woman. Woo! Yeah, they're all saying it, that your mindset has a lot to do with it, that you're motivating me right now as I'm watching. Man, one person said, much like the rest of us, that she was seeing you daily and she thought you were just fine, and you're the definition of a strong one, and that she loves you even more.
Thank you.
So help me to put in summary for those who may be joining late, or those who may just catch this part. Right now, medically, they suggest that the cancer is where? Or they are scoping for the cancer because,
No, the tumors are in my lung and bone. No, they would have to do another biopsy to see the subtype, so that they can change the medications that I'm on. So right now, I'm not on any medication because none have worked. So that's where I'm at now. I will be going to the hospital tomorrow to see what can be done from that standpoint from here. If they will go ahead and do another, if they will agree as well to do another biopsy, and do a full body scan and take it from there.
Man, and we still have 2 very active boys who are so handsome. And they're how old now?
Caden is 9 and Cairo is 2.
9.
And Cairo isn't with me. Wanted him to come with me, but he's more than a handful. He needs a whole community to hold him.
His energy is uncontainable. He is he's full of life. How about that?
Yeah, my mom called me today and said, "Christine, I don't know how you do it. How do you do it? I am tired." I said, I don't know how I do it either, but I am resting, so I'm fine.
You know, you're Catania, you couldn't have said it better. You are the definition of strength. And it does not mean that strength doesn't mean that you have not broken down. Strength doesn't mean that you have not gone deep down into dark places. But strength in you, Christine, is that you just keep rising again. And I am more blown away now, and I was blown away before, because there were times I was one of those who thought, yeah, you really would have been in remission because you just never ever stopped. But you said it earlier, right? And you said that pushing through is what you must do.
Yeah, most definitely. At one point, I said to myself, God, you must have activated the the makeup artist in me, because when I was going through chemo and I had to shave that head and that head had to drop off, I had to become so fierce to wear that. And I said, God knows why he gave me that talent. Listen, God knows why he gave me that talent to just, beautify myself and to go out and to just conquer. Like every single day I get up and I never felt like I wanted to go out. I said no, and I put on the makeup and I'll just stand in the mirror, even if I'm not going anywhere, and just look at myself and say, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to do this. Satan won't come, but you're going to fight. You're going to put on all the armors and you're going to fight. I mean, there are times that, yes, I cried because I was always a gym buff. I would always love to work out, and I find myself not being able to work out. Like I have a whole drawer of gym clothes and I'm not able to work out. I had to take my time. I had my trainer call me and he didn't know the extent of my journey. And he said, Christine, just come on through. And I said, no, because I can't go. The thing is, I can't go as hard as I want to. So
Right.
I didn't feel like, if I'm not busting a sweat in the gym and out of breath, I was like, no, I'm going to wait it out. I went to come back in the gym, but not right now. You know what I mean? So God just works so mysteriously, and he works his timing. Since my journey, his time, and I think a part of my journey it has drawn me so much closer to him, so much closer, and it made me realize that there's still hope. We just need to know that it is already done, and step out and step in and just do, just be the game changer. That's what it is. And I have to set an example for my boys. God knows why he gave me boys. I think Caden cried for the second time last night, because last night I celebrated my sister's 50th birthday, and I was reunited with my other sister that I haven't seen in 22 years since her father died.
Oh, wow.
And one of the reasons why she wanted me to come here as well, was to reunite with my sister. And it was last night's moment was just, it was full of joy and tears, and it was fabulous as well. And it just goes to show that, there are people out there who love me, and it gives me more push to fight. And for persons out there who might be battling the same thing, fight on through. There are times when persons will call me. I've had so many people who are going through the same cancer. They call me, and there are times when I really don't even know what to say, that after I come off of the phone, I could do nothing but cry, because I'm like, why we have to go through this? Why it is so hard? Even though we tell ourselves, listen, it's not a death sentence. We live through it. Once again, it's in your mind, and you have to condition your mind. You have to train your mind to be positive. So every day I have to intentionally train myself to be positive, no matter what. When it was in this year, late last year to this year, that I said, cancer is negative. Nobody don't want to call the name, but I'm going to turn it around. I'm putting the spin on this, whichever way, however way, because guess what? Somebody out there needs to know. Somebody out there wants that inspiration. And if it's me that needs to give them that inspiration, I'm more than willing to give them that inspiration, because I got inspired by somebody who had it on social media when I heard her story. She did a YouTube channel and she did a story. She did her blog on Instagram, and I got inspired and I reached out to her. And I was thinking that immediately I would have been on social media blogging about it, but no, it wasn't like that. But persons reach out to me, one-on-one, and I try to just give them that positive upliftment. There are times they would cry. I can't even make out what they're saying, the way they're crying, and I'm like, all right, just calm down. But yeah, in the midst of it, it's okay to break down with me. When you go in front of your doctor, just stand up and tell the doctor exactly what is not happening and what is happening, because sometimes they're trained medically to tell you whatever. You just have to face it, because it's your life. There's no two persons out there. Your cancer is different from somebody else. Somebody else's body will react differently from yours. So don't let them treat you as if it's a one size fits all. That's something that I had to learn. And I learned it over a while, because I said to myself, why didn't I know all of this and Google? I hated Google. I didn't. Every time when I was first diagnosed and I Googled something, it was the worst. It was the worst thing ever. So I had stopped Googling, and took excerpts out of, little things that I could find, and just try to build up the momentum and just go every day. The more I don't think about it, the better it is. I'm not neglecting that it is there. I'm just not owning it anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Man, Christine, listen. God has his hands all over you. Your declaration of faith and your determination to manifest that God would want you healed from the top of your head to the sole of your feet. And yes, to this point, that you're such an inspiration on how to embrace life. You're also reminding those of us who don't even have a walk, not even a fraction in comparison to, we are reminded to give thanks and to not complain, not even to complain about a sniffle, because we have those like you who are literally warring in your body as God is aiming to cover you, because we know sickness is definitely not from God. And so we have come alongside you this evening, and we're going to take this walk with you, Christine.
Thank you.
I believe all of us are on here for a reason. We've all been appointed to come for this show. And I want everybody to write down Christine's full name, put it on your mirror, pray for her in your prayer closet, in your devotional, call out her full name. We clearly can't just pray. We need to send the encouragement. And also for those of you, even if it is $1 of sowing a seed of faith, whatever you can sow, we're going to need to sow along with you as well, Christine. Because this, which you have begun, the fact that you are speaking with the desire to even help but one, trust me, watch God multiply it. Just watch God. We're going to watch God multiply how your faith and you're stepping forward and you're opening up like this. So we are literally stepping on the neck of what the medical reports have to say. And we are going to step up and step alongside you and trust God and stand by you. What a mighty warrior. I mean, like, you are right. You said when you shaved your head off and you chose to show up with your makeup and you were fierce and fabulous with it, Like, what a bold step. But it was a step as well to say, I'm standing with what I know, and I'm standing for those who need somebody to stand for them. You know, like how we talk about we need those who will be the voice to the voiceless. You are the face. You are the face for those who are not able to have even the fraction of courage and determination that God has given you, and the push to push you through. So, yes, we are committed to praying for you, for your boys, for your family, for your network, for your village. And we're going to come back on this same real talk.
It's going to be a testimony.
And we're going to come back for a testimony. But look at this. What happened? Isn't that something? We lost that feed. I believe she will come back on. But I'm very confident that we will. Look at you. Isn't that something? That was significant. So this is what it's going to be like. This is a test that you're going to just come back.
Of course.
With a big, broad testimony. And we on here, and those of you who catch the replay, and Christine, I'm going to send you the link that you can send it out as well. And I ask everybody else, please share this link too, because this link is going to, for those of you who have never been a part of Real Talk before, I'm celebrating the first anniversary of Real Talk. And the mission of Real Talk really is to ensure that we engage, encourage, empower, educate, and equip one another to live our life of purpose, passion, and prosperity. This is exactly what you embodied today. Whilst we are the ones who should be stepping in and encouraging you, you have encouraged us, you have empowered us, you have spoken about your life's purpose, you've spoken about the things that you're passionate about, and good health is going to be a part of your prosperity. That will be your legacy, right? And so we just want to ask God to bless, keep you, preserve you. And we lift you up in prayers. We know that you are going tomorrow to get your medical appointment done. And yes, Trish, this is the best link I've gotten in a while. Yes, says Dre. I'm not sure if you're able to see any of the comments, Christine.
No.
Oh boy. But everybody is cheering you on, and they're saying that God is with you. God will guide you, God will keep you, and God will protect you. But most importantly, God will preserve you. And I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. I would like to believe that the comments, I pray, will live on in the when I upload the broadcast. And so you'll be able to see them yourself. But you had quite the cheerleading audience, quite the faith-filled audience. And we are able to drop in the chat right now. Drop in the chat right now your closing comments to Christine, that she can see that when she sees the replay. And I really want us to remind her that with God, all things are possible. Absolutely. With God, all things are possible. And I believe that. So thank you so much, Christine, for your time. I am typing it in. With God, all things, not some, all things are possible. And I am going to leave you with one of my favorite scriptures, which you know so very well. And that is, God is able to do exceedingly, abundantly, above all that we could ever ask, think, or imagine, which includes you as a walking miracle. And I stand with you on that, along with everybody else. Everyone is sending their comments. Listen, my faithful D from the UK is up at this hour watching to say, sending you continued strength and blessings. God is your strength, says Yvonne. I mean, a real survivor. I'm calling you a real warrior. And you have already won this battle because God is fighting your battle
Amen.
for you. Yeah. So give her a
Amen.
round of applause. Keep glowing. Keep looking well. And yes, God is fighting for you. You are absolutely loved. Everybody, thank you so much for joining. Christine, stay on a bit. I will end the broadcast with God, all things are possible. Cheryl echoes that. Thank you. And yes, we want to wish you God's richest blessings. And we know whose report we
We
believe.
believe.
We believe the report of our Most High God. So fight the fight. The resources will come. Please do check the link as well on Chris's page. I'm going to post an excerpt of this live by tomorrow on my Instagram as well. And then I need to learn how to find out how to put the link in the body of my email, but I am going to be sharing it on this platform as well on my Facebook platform as well. What's the GoFundMe? I am so not technologically savvy. Is there any way you can type that in, Christine? Do you know how to type it in?
If they Google it, it will come up as I'm no longer a slave to cancer. Hold on. I don't even know where to type it. Chat.
It's okay. I'm typing it for you. Thanks, Anne-Marie, for asking. I am no longer a slave
To the fear of cancer.
to the
But also, if they go on my IG page, it's posted in my bio.
and are you also on Facebook?
Yes, and it's posted on Facebook as well. Christine
Okay,
Soutar.
I know Anne-Marie is a Facebook girl, so
It's on Facebook.
okay. So I'm no longer a slave to cancer, and
To the
that
fear of cancer.
to the fear of cancer. Yes, I've typed that. I'm no longer a slave to the fear of cancer is the GoFundMe, and then your name goes
Christine
on
Soutar.
Instagram as well as Facebook.
Yes.
Okay. All right. You will have our support, Christine.
Thank you. And thank you for having me. Such short notice.
Yes,
Literally.
yes, yeah, you did it. Listen, I saw your post, and we have to be in this journey together as sisters. We must help one another. And if it is that our mission is to do just that, let's do it and do it together, because in fact we truly are stronger together. My mom is on here and she has learned how to type in YouTube, people. Mommy says blessings on you always, and of course she types her name Laura.
Blessings,
Hey,
mommy.
all right. So
Thank you so much.
Blessings abound. I am ending the broadcast. Stay online for me, Christine. Ending the broadcast with everyone else. Thank you so very much. Please share the link. I will post, the link will be a part of my YouTube. So just forward it to everyone. Let's get this out there to encourage, empower, and engage, and also to support Christine as well. Take care and be blessed.